I'd like to jump over into another component that we released during this devlog, which is the Frank character. We've seen a lot from the Neo character, and Jonathan Riley, who's the character designer, couldn't join us today. But Frank, I would love for you to speak to that process of creating and evolving the Frank character that we're seeing in the devlog. There's some cool things like the boots, the varsity jacket, stepping inside and out of the car, which I think is awesome, and really like moving around on the track. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and what it's been like working with Jonathan Riley?
Yeah, totally. I think the important thing to note here is that it's really like building out the character pipeline. And as mentioned in the devlog update, we're starting with specific characters from each era, and those kind of become really like the lore and aesthetic and backstory from those eras. Like these characters are kind of just like a single representation of that. And we're using a lot of different design principles from Mariana and Gobi across the eras. And yeah, so that's been really like the bigger goal here. And with having Frank and Neo now, we can really start to play with pushing those characters through the pipeline, and then the different socketing and how they can have interchangeable accessories or wearables between them. So yeah, all in all, it's been super fun. And then I guess just in terms of like the Walpha in the zine, kind of seeding the Wilder Avatar project, which yeah, we're really excited about. And it's funny because most projects have kind of led with the avatars, and we've built a lot around the idea of the avatar. And yeah, I feel the timing's going to be really good once like the avatar comes front and center prior to an experience being rolled out, and then it kind of will like connect everything we're doing. So yeah, been a super fun process working with John and the Avatar team. And yeah, Knight has been also highly focused on that. So maybe he wants to chime in and talk a little bit about just some of the work he's been doing and where that's going to lead.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. I think, yeah, right now we are in the process of kind of identifying what the themes are for the individual eras and how those will emerge as class systems almost. But there's been a lot of great work done so far, and it's really exciting to have Mariana and Gobi involved in the process, considering that they're the brains behind the eras. So all the architectural inspiration or architecture that they've created will be pulled in as inspiration for the characters too. But I mean, if you think about how we exist in this world, we experience the world through our person. So I think that avatars are going to be an integral part to Wilder in terms of how people relate to it and relate to their identity within it. So I'm super excited, and I think that right now we just kind of kicked off a pretty formal process for or strategy for how we're going to go about this. So yeah, I think the community is going to be very excited about it.
Yeah, one thing that I want to just highlight on the avatars, to Frank's earlier point, like most projects start with a PFP, they start with the avatar and then they build out around the avatar. And what's powerful about that is it creates a sense of community because everybody has like the same mascot. And I think that is going to be, I think that's good, but I think it's representative of like the technological limitations. Like the reason that, say for instance, Bored Apes, the reason, like if you think of how a lot of these things got started, they needed a simplified base mesh, and then they like customize, then they on that base mesh they like changed materials and accessories, and that's how they got to, you know, a certain number of variations. But I think if you really look at the future, people want to be their own characters. And yes, people want to be part of communities, but not everybody wants to be the same thing. And part of why we've spent so much time designing like n3o and the lore of n3o and the lore of Frank is so that we can build the procedural systems such that eventually anybody could build their own character that's truly unique. And I don't really think anybody's thinking about it like that. But the idea is that, you know, the idea of being a wilder is more sort of a larger abstract idea. And the way we're building the character generation system is you'll be able to sort of create your character from the ground up. The character will be 100% unique, and you'll be able to use a very unique character system to do that, and then mint that onto the blockchain. So without going into too much more details, even though while Avatar is going to be one of the kind of like last major NFT projects that we do, I do think it'll be one of the most significant because we're approaching it in a totally different way.
Live the lore.
Yeah, everybody's going to have their own character, and everybody's going to have their own rich lore, and timesing that by all the wilders is what's going to make it truly wild.
Heck yeah.